Hello, folks. Welcome to our next lecture in our FAA Part 107 preparation. Today's all about section charts, sectional charts. I just shorten it up to section charts. These are the FAA maps. Okay, these are the maps that aviation folks use, pilots use, private pilots use, commercial pilots, manned aircraft pilots use on a daily basis, air traffic controllers, all these kind of folks. So these are detailed, dense, a lot to them. Okay, and it could be, of all the parts on the test, of all the parts on the exam, I would say this is the most critical that you study the most, spend the most time studying, because if you're like me, aviation is a foreign concept, and flying a drone, that's a pretty simple, straightforward operation. Knowing airspace, aviation, and what's going on around you from a pilot's perspective is a completely different animal. And so this is the FAA's way to check that you are competent in this area of, again, not just knowing theory of airspace, but how to interpret it and be proficient in this expertise. Okay, so follow with me here. We're going to go through these slides. I'll do my best to explain, and then we're going to go through some samples, because this is one where you really just need to practice a lot. Practice your charts, okay? All right, first and foremost, you've got to know how to identify airspaces on the map itself, okay, on the charts. And you'll see your charts, and they have dozens of these little rings all over them, different colors, and it's just busy. It's just busy stuff. But I'm telling you, once you kind of grasp how to interpret these rings, a lot of other stuff starts to fall in place. Okay, this is the most difficult part, because the other stuff, they actually give you a legend, and they show you. You can just refer back to it while you're taking the test to see, what certain symbols are, etc. As far as airspace, okay, we talked about this last time. Class B. We know Class A, that's way up there, right? That's where jets and commercial airline are flying. There's no way our drones are going to get that high. Class B, on the other hand, that's when we are within the realm of an airport, and in particular, large commercial international airports. Okay, so like this example is Boston Airport. So Class B airspaces will always have a solid blue line. Okay, solid blue line like this. That's an indicator of Class B. Let's see. Now the different blue lines, so the different circles. Notice that there are a few different ones, actually. 1, 2, 3 solid blue lines. I guess 4. Actually, this is kind of an outlier here. And you're going to see stuff like that, right? Not always, but sometimes there are little additions or amendments to these circles. Anyways, let's see. The circles determine the different shelves. Okay, so the different floors /ceilings of where one part of the airspace stops and the other one begins, right? So in other words, like in this Bravo airspace, normally describes it upside down wedding cake, okay, more than 2 layers. So each one of these circles, think of those as each one of is its own layer. Now, the part that makes this all click together, right, is when you look at the little numbers here, and like we've got them over here. And so these numbers are extremely important, and you have to understand how to read these on the charts. So what's going on is whenever you see these kind of big, bold numbers in a fraction like this, what you're looking for is the 70. That's going to be the ceiling of that particular shelf. Okay, 70. And then the 30 is going to be the floor of that shelf. Okay, now that's not 70 feet, 30 feet. What you actually do is you add 2 zeros after what's printed here. So in this case, it would actually be 7,000 as a ceiling on this outer shelf. Okay, so 7,000 here, 3,000 as is the outer floor, which means you could technically fly a drone within that airspace as long as you have Lance approval, because you're only going to 400. And if they're supposed to be, those aircraft are supposed to be at a floor of 3,000, that's a big buffer that you guys have between you, right? Now, as you get closer to the center of the airport, right, here's our next shelf. And our next shelf is from 70 to 20. So 7,000 to 2,000, right? So now the planes are either coming in or they're going out. So now we're at a 7,000, 2,000. So technically, you could still fly your drone within that second shelf, okay, within that second shelf. Now, within that third shelf, okay, I know that this is a little hard to read. I got these from screenshots, but within that third shelf, okay, now it's just the single cylinder, which is from here all the way around. I'll talk about what the dash one means in a second, but this single one here, you see a 70 over an SFC, just like this, okay? The 70 over SFC means 7,000 to the surface, okay? So imagine that is from the ground all the way up to the top. And then the other ones are from, what did we say, 2,000 to the top, and then 3,000 from the top, okay? So within this large circle here, you're not supposed to fly a drone, okay? You're not supposed to fly a drone. Now, when you go on the Lance websites, like we talked about before with airspace, they may give you some clearance away from the approach and takeoff, you know, if it's adjacent to those directions. But in general, correlating it to the map, 7,000 to the surface, that's the tightest airspace that we're going to find on this map, okay? Let's do this while we're bringing up the whole shelf thing. Let me bring this over too, okay? This is what I'm talking about with Class B. Now this one has 4 shelves. I understand 1, 2, 3, 4. But again, imagine based on what we were just looking at, there's 3. Here, let's do it like this, okay? So for example, here we are, 70 to 30. That would be this big one here, okay? This top layer here. 70 to 20, let's just imagine that that's the second one, okay? And then 70 to the surface right here, let's eliminate this kind of second to last and then include it to be this one here, okay? That's what we're looking at in real time. We've taken this picture that's at a side view, a profile of this thing, and we flipped it on its kind of from a top-down perspective. So we're looking at these cylinders, these airspace cylinders, straight down, and that's what we get on the map, okay? So knowing airspace is critically important, and knowing how to interpret these rings, like I said, critically important for the exam. Okay, let's swap that. Boom. Okay, now let's take a look at Class C. Same type of concepts apply, right? When we talk about the numbers here, what does that mean? Well, in this case, 4,400 feet to the surface is the example of the inner shelf, okay? And then on the outer shelf, we've got 44 to 2,300 feet here, and 44 to 27 feet here, 2,700 feet here. And then look at this one. So there's a few different layers to this cake, right? A few different shelves to this one. 44 to 16 out here, right? So you could fly lower. I'm talking about commercial aircraft. Could fly lower in this area for whatever reason over here. They have to fly higher, right? Could be because of some of these tall towers. plus elevation, that kind of thing. But again, this is what we're talking about. And with Class C, we've got a solid line, but a magenta color. So Class B is solid blue. Class C, which is your next size down from International Airport, but still quite a bit of air traffic going through, okay? With Class C, you're gonna get solid line magenta color, right? There's no way to identify these, or no legend. You're gonna have to remember these things. Maybe you take a note and you know, again, that's why I said study this stuff. But yeah, this stuff has to stick. In particular, this. Now, Class D, okay, Class D generally has only one cylinder, right? One ring, and Class D is going to be a dashed line. Okay, so dashed lines like this, okay? Dashed lines that are blue, okay? Those are Class D. And Class D airports, they're busy, but they're not generally going to have large commercial airlines going in and out of them. Maybe a lot more private commercial planes, Cessnas and the like, okay? Most Class D, you're going to have just one number here, right? And the one solid number without it being a fraction. So that means because it's only one cylinder, that means that we're only posting the ceiling of the Class D here. So keep that in mind. Anything that's Class D goes from wherever it's posted here, okay, wherever it's posted here, down to the surface, right? So Class D is an airspace that is extremely restricted or controlled because it's all from the surface, right? Let's take a look again at our example. Okay, here's our Class D, and it doesn't look like it's a big deal, but again, this only goes from the surface, 4 nautical miles outwards, okay? 2,500 small airports, surface to 2,500, right? All right. Okay, let's see. Anything else we're missing here? I don't think so. What's going on is there seems to be, I want to say 2 airports. Yeah, 2 airports in this example. It's a little strange that this is offset this way, but sometimes this stuff doesn't, they're not perfect circles all the time. Let's put it that way, okay? Class E. Class E is that kind of strange in between, right? Now, there are areas where Class E goes all the way to the surface, right? Surface up to 700 feet AGL, okay? And that is considered a controlled airspace. That's considered a controlled airspace in Class E. So again, you would need LANC approval to fly there. Class E, when it's from the surface to 700, is going to be a dashed magenta line. Okay, dashed magenta line. Now, Class E has another unique perspective because Class E could be from starting at 700 feet and above. Let me repeat that. Class E from 700 feet and above, right? So the floor is 700 feet. That's generally more or less what we're going to find when we see these airports. And these are like really small, kind of out in the middle of nowhere airports, right? There's activity, but very unlikely that it's going to have a control tower. Anyways, when you see this kind of gradient magenta, that is telling you that from the surface to 700 feet, the airspace is wide open. Okay, it's uncontrolled. So let me repeat that. When you see this kind of gradient looking airspace, the from the surface to 700 feet is uncontrolled, meaning that you could fly a drone in these gradient type of circles. Okay, now you're not supposed to go, there's supposed to be a buffer between you and where Class E starts, which is 700, right? It is okay to fly UAS in Class G airspace because it's uncontrolled. Technically the space, but underneath this gradient circle, underneath this, okay, again, that's starting at 700 down to the surface, is considered Class G. And Class G is everything else, right? Everything else that's uncontrolled, which you can absolutely fly your drone in that Class G airspace, okay? Okay, sometimes there's combination airspaces, right? And if there's a combination, you're going to see this kind of hash marked, inward hash looking circle around. And that would give you the, let's see, kind of tell you what the overriding airspace is in this area, which in this case is Class D for Nantucket Airport, okay? And we could notice that by, what you kind of want to do is, sometimes it helps to, I don't want to say disregard some of these things, but like you see this large, clock looking circle. Okay, what am I really looking for here? I'm really trying to identify the specific airspace because this doesn't really tell me what it is. What's most important in this graphic is that there's a Class D airspace here. Okay, Class D here. Now, that's telling me that from the surface to 2,500, that's controlled. That's controlled. When we go out to this little offset here, this little rectangle, we've got from the surface to 700 feet, which is then Class E. So technically, from here, this circle and including this, and if we include this rectangle, the inner portion of this rectangle, we're not supposed to fly a drone, okay? But if we went beyond that, and now we're looking at the gradient version of that Class E, that's from where? 700 and above. So in that case, we can fly UAS in between these two graphics here, right? In between the gradient and either one of these dashed lines, because that is Class G technically, okay? In the confines of where we're flying where we're going to fly the drone. You guys still with me on this one? Let's take a look at some airport symbols. Everything I'm going to show you guys in terms of symbology, everything I'm going to show you is available when you take your exam, okay? So what they're going to do is they're going to hand you a large airman's book, okay? And 3/4 of this book doesn't make any difference to you because it's stuff that has nothing related to the P107 whatsoever. But there are some sample charts that you're going to have to refer to within the book. And what's also really helpful inside that book at the beginning of it, okay, there are a bunch of legends and, things that explain what different symbols, what they look like in terms of, what they look like and what they mean, right? So you don't have to memorize these things. It's good to have a general, study from a general perspective, like what these are. But like, for example, something like this, right? Well, I just look at that and I go, it's got to be related to water somehow, right? It's probably related to the ocean. Maybe it's an ocean, maybe it's and I'm not looking at it, I swear, but maybe it's a seaport or something like that, right? Since this anchor doesn't have a circle around it, it is not a normal seaplane airport. It's used only for seaplane emergencies. Okay, so that was close, right? A lot of it's kind of common sense. I would say that just these airport symbols are pretty important to know, absolutely, right? And to definitely recognize. Something like this here, right, with an X in between, abandoned airport. Okay. Now, in terms of you flying a drone, I don't see how abandoned airport could be in any controlled airspace, right? So that's probably okay. Over here, though, with this blue circle with these little notches on them, okay, controlled airport. This is important. Controlled airport because it is blue. When it says control, that means that there's an air control tower. Okay, an air control tower there. 3 squares, east, south, and west of the circle means that it has fuel services available. Again, this stuff doesn't matter to us. The star signifies it has a beacon. Okay, restricted airport symbol for emergencies use. This will come in handy, a helipad, right? Helipads are important. There may not be an actual airspace designation around a helipad, but it's good to know where these are because all UAS are supposed to yield to manned aircraft, whether those are airplanes or helicopters. So knowing that there's a helipad close by you, you're probably going to see a helicopter at some point if you're there for a while, right? Public use airport with no hard surface. So yeah, I mean, this is kind of in the middle of nowhere, uncontrolled airport without fuel services. Again, similar type of thing, right? Here we have one that does have the beacon and fuel services with these little notches, seaplane airport. And then this is kind of cool. Here we have a private airport, PVT. So there's no circle per se around it, but you'll notice that when we look at these different airports, they have this same kind of labeling for the name. Okay, so Calverton Executive and PVT means it's private. It's uncontrolled because it's magenta in color, so there's no actual control tower. Let's see. And there's no circle, but it does give you an indication of where the direction of the runways. Okay, going in this direction and this direction, kind of east, west, north, east, west, in either way. And then in the diagonals. Let's see. Oh, Calverton is where they have skydivers. So check that out, right? Just something to pay attention to. Okay, something to pay attention to. Your exam, they might ask you to locate, like, for example, where's Calverton? Locate Calverton Airport. What's something to keep an eye out for, or an obstacle to keep an eye out for? That might be a question, right? And it would say, I don't know, seaplanes or large buildings or skydivers. Well, so you see the little parachute guy, like that's the indicator for you, okay? So yeah, here we are looking at the airport symbols and the airport labels, I guess. So this one here, being as that it's magenta in color, okay, that means it's uncontrolled. There's no control tower, right? If it's magenta in color, it's uncontrolled. They're going to ask you, is this a controlled tower? Is this a controlled airport or an uncontrolled airport? There's questions like that, okay? So there's a lot to this, but don't be overwhelmed. You just have to be able to interpret and read these things, kind of know what the different symbols mean, and it's going to ask you multiple choice, right? So like, which one of these labels is for a radio frequency? Which one is for the airport's elevation? That kind of stuff, right? Let's see. The airport has automatic weather station, AWOS, which is cool. Here's the frequency, okay? The next line, which would be down here, okay, this is important, says the altitude. I like to say the elevation, right? The elevation of the airport, 108 feet, okay? It's a lighted airport. They might ask you that, if it's lighted or not lighted. The fact that it has this big L here, okay? And let's see, lighted 25, telling you the length of the longest runway in hundreds of feet, so 2,500 feet. And then here is the CTAF frequency. They're going to ask you silly stuff like this. But, again, this is an aviation test. So that's why they're getting so specific about this kind of stuff, right? So again, we have, what do we say? Weather frequency, elevation, lighted, length of runway, and CTAF frequency. So that would be like if you're going to call the control tower or to hear the control tower, you know, what they're talking about. Again, I'm not a pilot, so I'm sure someone that's an actual aviation pilot, manned aircraft pilot, or helicopter pilot would know more specifically what I'm trying to refer to here. Anyways, none of this stuff matters to us as drone pilots, really. To be frank, it doesn't. But it's going to be stuff on your test, so you should know it. At least have an idea, right? And when we look at the next one here, clear view. Okay, clear view. Again, uncontrolled because it's magenta in color. Doesn't have a beacon. Okay, you know, there's not that little star thing. Does have fuel services. Here is the, let's see. Yeah, here's the elevation. So check this out. Because it doesn't have the automatic weather station, it went straight to the elevation here, 799. The reason I know that's the elevation, it's bold and it's italic, okay? And then next to that, we have the L for it's lighted, and it is 1,800 feet in length, the runway, okay? And then our frequency for radio is going to be 122.8 CTAF, okay? Sometimes they're just TAF. This one's considered a CTAF. Now, let's go to Newark Airport, Liberty International Airport, EWR, okay? Big difference here. It's blue, okay? It's blue. There's a control tower there. So this is a controlled airport. Other indicator of that is that it says CT here, okay? CT. So if you were going to, I think I misspoke a bit. I was saying that this frequency would be for you to talk to the tower, and there's no towers here. So I guess this is a frequency for people that are using the airport, but not necessarily someone that's controlling it if there's no control tower, obviously. Now over here, that's a different story because this one has a control tower, CT. So there's a frequency for talking to the control tower directly here, okay? Which would be this. Let's see. I'm not sure exactly what this ATIS stands for. I think it's another weather thing. Check this out, 1.8, right? Newark is like right at sea level because it's right by the Hudson. So that's not a typo. The elevation is only 1.8. Okay. A lighted airport, and then let's see, 11,000, right? 11,000. Yeah, 11,000 feet for the length of the airport. I mean, it's a big international airport, right? And then here is the TAF frequency. So not a CTAF, but just a TAF. Again, rewatch this, and you know, there's just a lot going on here. I don't expect you guys to know all of this stuff right away, but again, having a general sense, it's kind of like those METAR reports. You know, you're not going to walk away being a weather expert at those, but as long as you can understand where the symbols go and how the labels are arranged, you'll be good. You'll be good to go in this exam. Okay, again, these will be on your exam in the little legends section, just so you know, right? So you don't have to memorize these. And actually, I only pulled a few of them out. But important ones that come up that I saw frequently were related to the towers, these obstacle towers, okay? So like big like radio towers that you'd see. You may not notice them necessarily, but if you're on a drive or something and you know, say you're driving near the foothills or something at night and you see big flashing lights off in the distance, those are these type of towers that we're referring to. Maybe they're power line towers or something like that, right? They're meant to, I mean, they're there for a reason, but they're also, they have lights on them for aircraft to recognize, you know, that they're there so they don't crash into them. The other part about this is the elevation is really important here. the elevation of these towers is really important, as you can imagine, right? The elevation and the height of the specific tower itself. So with the M shape, okay, the M means that there's more than one obstacle. So it's probably more than one tower kind of close together. The numbers besides is mean sea level. The AGL height is not always available. It is less than 1,000 feet, AGL. And the way that we know it's less than 1,000 feet, okay, is because the over 1,000 feet will have, the over 1,000 feet will definitely have a parentheses also, but the over 1,000 feet types of obstacles will be this shape instead, kind of a tall triangle to them, right? Like this. Whereas these are either an M shape or just kind of a basic looking triangle, right? These have a much steeper angle to them. So these are over 1,000. Every single one of these, okay, is under 1,000. Okay. Again, that's AGL. I'm talking about the height of the actual tower itself. So let's review a little bit more here. Group of obstacles with a light on them. Okay, so when it has this little symbol like this, that means it's got a little blinker to it. I guess this one doesn't at all. So either it's not that tall or it just doesn't have any lighting to it or whatever whatsoever. And it's under 1,000 feet. Okay. Here we see, let's see, above it means lighted, below is a single lighted obstacle. So here's another lighted obstacle. The AGL, all right, is in parentheses. So the above ground level means the height of an object, okay, above ground level. Think about that, ground above the ground. Well, that you're actually measuring the height of an object. So in this case, this particular tower is 340 feet tall, and it is positioned where it's positioned on the earth is at 931 feet above sea level, mean sea level, okay? There's going to be a lot of questions about that. So you have to make sure you understand above ground level, which is, for all intents and purposes, the height of something, versus mean sea level. So that's the elevation of an object, as you know, as opposed to where it is, you know, versus the sea. When you generally think of the elevation of something, you're referring to above sea level. When we say AGL, we're talking about the height of something. Okay. So again, the parentheses is the height, and then the italics would be the MSL. Okay. Another single object with MSL. So let's see, no lighting to it. All right. Now here we have a group of them with lighting, and they are taller than 1,000 feet, like I was saying. In this case, 1322, so 1,322 feet AGL, that's the height. And then the MSL, 2032, okay? Wind turbine, same kind of thing, except it looks like this kind of symbol. UC means under construction. Here we have, it's like those skydiver things, except now we have gliders. Let's see, similar to glider symbol, but notice that this has an H instead of a G. I'm not sure what the H means. I guess maybe hang gliders. And then ultralight. Let's see, again, very similar. Ultralight aircraft. This is like pre what we consider UAS. Honestly, this is like hobby aircraft is what they're referring to. Okay. Again, none of this stuff really matters to us as UAS pilots. But these are parts of the test. That's why I'm explaining them to you. Okay. Magenta flag symbolizes a manned aircraft reporting point. You'll probably see a couple questions about these flags. It's important to recognize these flags. In black letters is the name of the reporting point. It lets the ATC, okay, air traffic control, know where planes are. Okay. So this is like a common position where manned aircraft fly over. Okay. Yeah, it's kind of part of, think of like an invisible highway in the sky. These little flags help guide aircraft can go wherever they want for the most part, but these little flags kind of help aircraft. And they're also, a lot of the times they're used for the pilots to recognize specific points of interest, right? So like in this case, it's a bridge, like a big bridge. So maybe there's a flagpole over the Golden Gate Bridge, or a flagpole over a big stadium or something like that, right? So they're like points of interest for pilots when they're flying around to say, oh yeah, like, okay, that's that specific, landmark, okay? Latitude and longitude is important, and they're going to ask you, locate this map at so-and-so latitude, so-and-so longitude. What is the symbol, or what is the airport, or what is the airport? Does the airport at so-and-so latitude, longitude have a control tower, and what's its frequency? Like, those are the type of questions you will see, okay? So knowing how to read latitude and longitude is really important. This person said, I didn't write this stuff. I pulled it down from a FAA sample, but they said, remember fatitude. Okay. Fatitude is like the Earth's stomach. It's, basically what that means, those are the horizontal lines on the Earth, okay? But those measure north and south. Latitude actually measures north and south, okay? Longitude measures east and west. The lines go north-south, but they measure east and west. So in this case, as we're looking at it here, this would be, say, 41 latitude, 73 longitude, okay? Probably 41 north, 73 west, because this is related to North America, United States. Okay, let's see. What's important to know is, as you're looking at these, trying to decipher longitude and latitude, when you look at these little marks, these little hashes here, latitude and longitude is in degrees. And the way that we kind of decipher these degrees is what's known as minutes, okay? So each hash is its own minute. Now, when I say minute, I'm not talking about what we think of like time-wise. This is a different use of the word minute. Minute being a length of space, space. So the reason that they like to use these minutes thing is because you can say, okay, you have 73 degrees, 30 minutes. Okay, well, think of it again, similar to time. There's 60 minutes. Well, there's 60 minutes per 1 degree. So 60 minutes per 1 degree. So that means that there are 60 hashes per degree, right? 60 of these things per degree. And that's both latitude and longitude. 60 of these little marks per degree. So if we were counting these, right, we would say, okay, I'm going to go, actually here, let's do it this way. I'll go 73. Let's say that this is 73 and that this is, let's see, actually, what am I saying here? Well, this would be, you know what, as I'm saying this would be the latitude. Yeah, this would be the latitude, because these hashes are going, well, no, what am I? Latitude's always noted designated north south. We'll look at this in example. We'll look at this example in a second. I'm even getting confused at this part. I promise though, we'll have an example here in a second. Let's just get through the rest of these symbols, and then we'll look at some examples together. These terrain symbols are important to know. Okay, so they're somewhat random, but they give the pilots an indication of what is down below, right? Like on the surface of the Earth. And so in particular, like topography. So like, for example, this big bolded number here, 46. This is not an airspace symbol, even though it's very similar to what we were looking at before. Because it has no parentheses or fraction or anything like that, dash marks around it, this is simply an indication of the elevation at that particular part of the map. Okay, so like you'll see these around mountains and kind of peaks, things that really would stand out. And again, this is meant so that pilots don't crash into, you know, mountains and stuff. And this is an indicator telling us that this part of the topography is at 4,600 mean sea level. So it's 4,600 feet in elevation. Okay. Wilderness area. Planes must fly over 2,000 feet AGL. Means nothing to us as drones. I guess that's a good thing, actually, because it means that, you know, you're not going to see any you're not going to see any commercial aircraft within our, we're going to have a big buffer between the commercial aircraft. Wildlife refuge. Yeah, wilderness area, wildlife refuge looks very similar. Again, same rules apply to manned aircraft 2,000 feet above. Okay. Specifically Catskill Mountains. Okay, you'll notice the lines or the shapes. Oh, right. So yeah, we're looking at little contours here. Okay, so little contours here. And when you see, in particular, stuff like this on a section map, it's giving you an indication that you're flying over hills. Again, this stuff doesn't matter to us as UAS, but it's on the section charts. And they might ask you about this. They might ask you this kind of stuff. All right, last one I have for you guys, restricted and military airspaces. Prohibited airspaces. Okay, so this is considered a prohibited airspace when we have the, let's see, the most restricted airspace, no aircraft is allowed in it, even with ATC clearance. Camp David, well, that makes sense, right? Also see it's expanded. It is important to check the NOTAMs, which we talked about last time in the airspace section. Blue marks and a P. So here we go, right? So that would be this here, these restricted airspace, kind of a comb looking symbol, okay? Same thing over here, Norman's Islands, restricted airspace, extents of unusual or invisible hazards of aircraft, artillery firing, aerial gunnery, guided missiles. Yeah, you know, who knows what's going on over there. Obviously, they don't want aircraft flying over those things because there's some kind of military testing going on at the Norman's Islands. Yeah, you'd see this, like we talked about in the previous, you'd see this over Camp David, Washington, D.C., you know, places where you just are never allowed to fly drones, right? And frankly, for that matter, regular aircraft aren't supposed to fly over there either. All of this information that I am showing you right now comes directly from perspective of a manned aircraft pilot's perspective. So that's where I pulled it from. So yeah, restricted airspace here. Now, when we see the similar symbol but with a magenta, that's a military operations, okay? Military aircraft may be flying. UAS flights are restricted in this military operation area, okay? And then here we have a different MOA, special military activity, so the gray hatching, okay? Pay close attention where there's, so I guess these are to tell you, you know, check the frequency. Maybe nothing's going on, maybe something is. You see this, first of all, let me back up for a second. You see this type of magenta comb over like military bases in particular. That's very common. These would be over special activities, or, you know, again, maybe there's nothing going on at all. But that's where that's why they have the frequency thing. So you're supposed to check the frequency. Okay. Okay. Now, what I want to do is look at some examples with everybody. Okay. All right, so here we go. Latitude, longitude question. Okay. What airport is located approximately 47 degrees, 40 minutes north latitude and 101 degrees, 26 minutes west longitude? Okay. So the latitude part, okay, the let's see, 47 degrees, 47 degrees, 40 minutes north latitude is going to be here on the, I guess we could use this one here. So let's put it this way. We have an indicator that, whoops, we have an indicator that up at this line up here is 48 degrees, okay, 48 degrees north latitude, and that this vertical line is 102 degrees, I'm sorry, 102 degrees west longitude, okay, west longitude. So in this case, if this is 48 and the question is asking us to find 4740, what we need to do then is go south, okay, because 4740 is less than 48. So we need to go down, right, in our where we're looking at this one and kind of count these marks. So if 40 is our what we're targeting here, but but what we're actually trying to do is we need to go 60 minus 40, meaning we need to go 20 notches down to end up at 47 degrees 40 minutes latitude. Okay, so I want to do that here, and just kind of, I know this is not a clear picture so much so, but let's just do our best. So how about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, right there. So that should be 40 degrees. I'm sorry, 47 degrees, 40 minutes north latitude. Okay, right there. Okay. And I think you know where we're going to go with this. A lot of times you only have to find one of these coordinates to find the other, because what's the likelihood that we're going to end up way down here, right? Really, there's two big airports. They're not big airports, but they're two airports that stand out in this chart. This one here, Garrison, and this one here, Mercer. Well, if we're already here at 4740 latitude, 101.26 west, would be very close to here. But just to give it a shot, just to try it out, we could count backwards from 102. And if we're counting backwards from 102, when I say backwards, we're actually going to go left to right in this case. Again, 60 is our start. So if you want to go 59, 58, 57, that's fine too. Either way you want to do it. I'll try it that way actually. So let's do it that way. So here's 59, 58, 57, 56, 55, 4, 3, 2, 1, 50. Notice that the hash mark is a little bit darker. Okay. Well, that's a good indication. That must mean that this is 40. This is 30. Okay. 30 minutes. And lo and behold, here we are at 29, 28, 27, 26, right? 26, boom, 26 minutes, 101 degrees, because we went to the east, okay? So 47 degrees, 40 minutes, north latitude, 100 degrees, 101 degrees, 26 minutes, west longitude. Okay, and it's a very straightforward question actually. What is the airport located at 47? Yeah, at that coordinate. So let's zoom out for a second, and it gives us 3 questions. You know, this is as easy as it's going to get. It's Garrison. It's Garrison, right? Out of these 3, it's Garrison. I see Mercer here. Do we even see Semsheniku? Oh yeah, that's here, private. Check that out, right? Private. And so the actual airport is located here, the R. Okay, the R. All right, let's take a look at another one. All right, this is a little bit clearer. With ATC authorization, you are operating your small unmanned aircraft at 4 SM, which stands for statute miles. Okay, SM statute miles, NM nautical miles. Okay, so 4 statute miles southeast of Elizabeth City Regional Airport, ECG. So first thing I'm asking myself, where is ECG on this chart? Okay, where's ECG? Well, I don't see ECG. Oh, wait a minute. Let's see. Elizabeth City. I almost got thrown off there for a second. ECG. I almost thought it was this one, right? So be careful. So because it says ECG, that's going to be this here. VOREDE. Yeah, this is not an airport here. This is something else. But this is the actual location of the airport. And I believe it's referring to this, this thing here, right? That's our airport symbol. So since this is a pretty decent size Class D airport, plus there's some mixed airspace going on, which we can tell because we have also the Class E spitting out here, right? So a lot of mixed use going on here with Class D and Class E, E to the surface. We know that this Class D goes from 2,500 to the surface. But yeah, this is the airport we were looking for, ECG. Okay, cool. We found it. Now, let's go 4 statute miles south east. Well, that's a little tricky, honestly. That's a bit tricky to really dial in like where exactly is 4 statute miles. I don't have a specific answer for you on this one. So I'm going to try to use some logic here and process of elimination. It's asking me, what is the hazard that's indicated to be in this area? Well, let me look at my answers, right? I'm always going to have 3 answers to choose from. So the first one says unmarked balloon on a cable. Okay. Well, I know that southeast would be something like over here somewhere, like in this direction, right? So as I look in this direction, are there hazards that I see? I see a tower here, okay, a small tower. I don't really see anything else, okay? But I see this thing here, caution, unmarked balloon on cable, check no tabs. That could definitely be what we're talking about. The other one says heavy parachute activity in the area, and I don't see any kind of parachute symbols here. High density military operations within the vicinity. Now, that could be down here, right? But in this example, I'm going to go ahead and choose this one here, unmarked balloon on cable, check no tabs. It makes the most sense. Yeah, based on 4 miles southeast of the airport, which is right here, okay? If it was over here, I would say, well, maybe it is the military operations, but the airport itself is here, okay? Okay, so you have been hired to inspect a tower under construction at 46.9 north and 98.6 west near Jamestown Regional Airport. So let's find JMS first and foremost. Well, it's right in the middle, so that's helpful. Okay, this right here. Okay, what must you receive prior to flying your unmanned aircraft in this area? Now, let's ask ourselves before we even go there, what kind of airspace is this? Okay, what kind of airspace is around this Jamestown Airport? So I see dash magenta. I see the gradient magenta. Okay, but because I see the dashed magenta, that's telling me that I'm in a controlled airspace from Class E from the surface to 700 feet. Okay, so we would need to get authorization to fly there. Now, what must you receive? Now, here's the kicker to this. This coordinate is going to be very important because that's going to tell us exactly where we're flying, because supposedly it's near this structure under construction, right? A tower under construction. 46.9 and 90. Let's first go to 46.9. Okay, 46.9. Well, let's find a latitude marker for us. Here we go, 47, right? So 46.9, that's a little bit trickier because now we're working in decimals. But if you can convert 0.9 to 60, what you end up having is around 55 minutes, 56 minutes, okay, give or take. So it would be something like over here, okay, so this would be 46.9, okay, for our, I'm sorry, I'm going the wrong direction. This way. Okay, so 46.9 would be down in this direction about right here, right? About right there. And then 98.6. Well, 0.6, 0.5 is the equivalent of 30 minutes, right? 0.5 is the equivalent of 30 minutes. So 0.6 is going to be about 35, 36 minutes. Actually, I think 36 minutes on the dot. And it's at 98. So we're going to go to the right again. Well, let's do this. Let's go ahead and count these out and see if we can get to 36. So let's count backwards. 59, 58, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 50. Okay, so that's 98.50. Here's 98.60. I'm sorry, here's 98.40. And so we're going to be somewhere in between here, okay, for our 98.6. So I've got this mark there. And then what did I say? 46.9. So about, boy, this is a really tricky one. I mean, honestly, it could land here, but I would say it's closer to here. So within the class E, right? Just because it's so close there. Now, what you could do is they do allow you to, I think they actually give you a calculator, and you could convert 46.9. Here, I'll do it real quick for you guys. You can convert 46.9. Actually, just the 0.9 is what you need to do. 0.9 times 60. Okay, so here, I'll do it for you guys if you could see my screen here. So 0.9, this is real simple to do. 0.9 times 60. That's how you convert decimals to minutes. Okay, so it's 54 minutes. Okay, 54 minutes. I know that's backwards, but that's 54. So 46 degrees, 56 minutes. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 here. Yeah, 54 minutes. So I was a bit off. Yeah, it would be about there if we went all the way over like this. And then we said the other one was here. So we're actually smack dab in the middle of this thing, right? Smack dab in the middle of the class E controlled airspace, right? With this dashed magenta. So in this example, we have three answers to choose from, right? Authorization from ATC, authorization from the military, authorization from National Park Service. Let's work our way backwards here. National Park Service. Does the National Park Service have anything to do with that particular location? No. It would if we were up here, Arrowwood National Wildlife Refuge, potentially, but I don't think so, right? How about authorization from the military? Do I see any military, the little comb symbol? Do I see anything like that around here? And I don't, right? I don't. So I see them up here, actually. I see them up here. But just using the process of elimination, and what I would just recognize anyways, knowing that this is controlled airspace, authorization from the air traffic control, the ATC, would be the most logical answer and the right answer in this case. Okay, I know this is a long one. Maybe take a break. Maybe you've already done that. You just want to go through this stuff as much as possible with as many examples as I can, because at least half of your questions on your exam will be related to charts and looking up, recognizing stuff on charts. It's going to be extremely important for you to pass your exam. Okay. All right, here we go. The elevation of the Shoshone County Airport is, okay, so we should know this by now, right? Let's find the Shoshone County Airport. Here's the Coeur d'Alene. No, that's not it. McGee, no. There's a whole bunch. Reagan, Carlin Bay, all these little small ones. Here's another small one over here. Look at that. Okay. Shoshone County Airport. There it is. Now, what's our elevation here? Remember, bold, italicize. That's the elevation MSL here, right? 2227. Bingo. Straightforward. And we have 3 answers to choose from. Well, it's definitely not 5,500. That's not even one of these things that would be a potential. 55, again, no. I guess it's pulling these probably from these other things. But here we go. 2,227 feet. Right on the money. Okay, that's the answer. Okay. This one is asking, let's see, this is 5.5. Let me see. Some of these didn't get carried over directly. Oh, where's it here? There we go. Okay, so let's look at 449 so we know what the question is. Okay, the elevation of Chesapeake Regional Airport is Chesapeake Regional Airport. That's very straightforward. Chesapeake Regional. Where's Chesapeake Regional, right? So you don't realize it, but there's so many airports out there. Really, there are, right? Smaller airports. Here's Hampton, Suffolk, Chesapeake. Okay, Chesapeake. All right. What is the elevation of Chesapeake Airport? Chesapeake is Massachusetts, right? So it's right by the water, right? Right by the ocean. And I'm sorry, Chesapeake is Maryland. Chesapeake is Maryland. So right by the ocean. Well, the ocean's 0, right? Mean sea level. And you know, knowing all of that logistical stuff helps, but you don't even really have to, because again, if you know how to read the airport labels, this stuff should make sense. Here it is, italicized, 19. Okay, 19. It's not 123, 0.67 or anything like that, or 55. No, it's 19. Bingo, right there. Okay, so that'll throw you off because here's 55. Nope, it's not 55. It's 19. 19. Okay. Okay, let's go get 3 more examples here. Aha, another airspace. What is the floor of the Savannah Class C airspace at the shelf area? Okay, what is the floor of the Savannah Class C airspace at the shelf area, which is the outer circle? Okay, well, Savannah Airport. Well, I'm going to say there's so much busy stuff going on here. Let's see. Let's confirm. Savannah Airport must be this. Must be this. I'm struggling a bit to understand why the airport code is not there. Maybe I'm just not. Oh, I guess it's here. Savannah Hilton. Yeah. Sometimes the airport codes are kind of far off to the side if it's a big airport. So you kind of have to weed through some of these things like I just did. Anyways, we know this is Class C because it's a solid line and it's magenta, right? So therefore, it's got different rings to it, different shelves to it. And we're talking about the outer circle. What is the floor of the outer circle? Well, that's basically asking right here in between here and here. Okay. All right, we're looking for this type of symbol, this type of fraction. Okay, don't be thrown off by any of these, you know, all these little towers, obstructions, all this other stuff. No, we're talking about this here. Okay, so what are we working with? 41 and 13. 4,100. Okay, that would be our ceiling. 1,300 would be our floor. Okay, not 13 feet, but 1,300. Okay. here's a great curveball for you guys, okay? It's asking, there's two answers here. One is 13 AGL, one is 13 MSL. The answer is 13 MSL, okay? 13 MSL, that's the answer. The airspace type of types will always be, like within the rings will always be MSL, okay, MSL. Let's see. And then here's our 41 to surface. So yeah, the answer in this case, 1300 MSL. Check this out. Here's another class. Here's a class D airspace kind of mixed in here for Hunter, which is 2500, right? So you've got, yeah, a mixing here of the class D and class C airspaces. Anyways, important note there. When we're talking about airspace floor, we're referring to MSL. All right, this is 552, so I've got two more to go with for you guys. And shoot, again, we're stuck with this one. I think it's asking us, but I don't remember which airport in particular. So let's go back to 558. Whoops, no, 557. How about that? Okay. At Coup de Aline. All right. Actually, we saw this a minute ago. So we're looking for this French airport name. Which frequency should be used as the common traffic advisory frequency, the CTAF, common traffic advisory frequency? So to monitor airport traffic, right? We're looking for the CTAF frequency at the Coup de Aline. All right. Where is that airport for one thing? I don't see it. Maybe I pulled the wrong one down. Am I not seeing the right thing? Henry County. Maybe I gave you guys the wrong one. Or am I just blind and it's right in front of me and you're all seeing it while I'm doing this? You know, I don't see it, so that doesn't help. Well, let's just review. How about for Henry County? What's the CTAF frequency? Here we go. Here's a C. That would mean it is 123.0. Okay. Here is Deschler, 122.9. We know that because of the C. Here is Ruse, 123.0. Okay. Notice some of these are very similar, right? So what you do is you would turn on your radio and it would give you updates to, you know, all of these little small little airports. Here's Hiltner private airport. There is no frequency available whatsoever, right? There's an elevation and there's a length of the runway, but there's no frequency available. So Ohio, Putman, right down here. Okay, so you get the idea, right? When you see the little, when you see the bolded, when you see the C with the circle next to it, that's the CTAF, common air traffic frequency. So I don't know what happened on that one. That's a misnomer. All right. Let's see. Oh, you know what I think was supposed to happen? I was supposed to ask you guys here, what class of airspace surrounds Barnes County Airport, which was here. Okay, so we're looking for what class of airspace surrounds Barnes County BAC Airport. BAC. Let's find BAC Airport. Okay, BAC. Now this is not a good screenshot, obviously. You can kind of make out, we have Cooperstown, Jamestown, here's Barnes County, okay, BAC. So the question was, well, what kind of airspace surrounds it? Well, here's the airport. What kind of airspace is this? Okay, what kind of airspace is this? It's a gradient magenta, right? Gradient magenta. What do you guys think? What would you say? Three choices. Class E with a floor at the surface. Class D. Class E with a floor of 700 feet above the surface. Well, it's definitely not Class D because it's not a dashed line, right? And it's not blue. So it's got to be one of these two Class E's. Class E gradient, what does that mean, right? Class E gradient means we have Class G from the surface to 700, meaning that the Class E starts from 700 and above, right? Not surface to 700. So in this case, the answer would be C, Class E with a floor of 700 feet above the surface. Okay, that would be this one here. Actually, these two. This one we talked about earlier. This one is, if we were asking about Jamestown, the answer would be here. Okay. All righty. So that's going to wrap up my